Jason stared at the rejection email, heart sinking. 10 failed attempts at his dream startup, each one a punch to his confidence. He felt broken, yet a small spark whispered, "Try once more. Don't give up now." Walking home through the rain, memories of childhood dreams flooded Jason's mind. Every setback felt like a verdict, yet he remembered his father's words, "Failure isn't the end. It's the teacher no one wants to meet willingly." His apartment smelled of cold coffee and missed opportunities. Jason's friends urged him to quit, claiming he'd tried enough. But something inside him resisted surrender. Deep down, he knew quitting wasn't an option. That night, Jason opened his old notebook, sketches of ideas, some naive, some brilliant. Each failure had left traces in these pages. He realized they weren't scars, they were clues, guiding him towards something greater. Morning came with a hesitant sun. Jason brewed coffee and stared at his whiteboard. 10 failures had marked him, but he decided he would make failure his teacher, not his jailer. Today, he would start planning again. He listed every failure in detail, analyzing why each idea collapsed. Patterns emerged: lack of research, weak execution, timing issues. Instead of despair, Jason felt clarity. Failure had unintentionally given him a map. Jason's hands trembled as he drafted a new plan. This time, he would do it differently, strategically, patiently, and fearlessly. The fear of failing again lingered, but he decided courage mattered more than comfort. Friends noticed a change. Jason wasn't apologizing for dreaming. He shared his new approach, each failure story infused with insight. Skepticism lingered, but a quiet confidence radiated from him, undeniable and magnetic. Late nights turned into early mornings. Jason tested ideas relentlessly, learning faster than before. Every small victory coding a feature, pitching a tiny client felt monumental. He began to believe success was possible, just within reach. One evening, exhaustion weighed him down. Tears blurred his vision as he remembered why he started. Each no he'd faced hadn't defined him. They'd sharpened him. He promised himself he would not quit, no matter the cost. The 11th attempt approached. Jason was different, now smarter, tougher, more resilient. He pitched to a potential investor, heart pounding, palms sweaty. Every lesson from past failures fueled his courage, a fire that refused to die. The investor smiled, intrigued by Jason's persistence. Questions came fast, and Jason answered honestly, openly, with humility and confidence. Each word reflected years of struggle, learning, and relentless hope, touching the listener deeply. Days blurred into weeks, small wins started stacking. Jason saw progress, not perfection. The fear of failure remained, but it no longer paralyzed him. Every setback was a hint, every challenge a teacher, guiding him forward. Late one night alone, Jason stared at the skyline. He felt a mix of pride and fear. 10 failures had almost crushed him, but he had transformed pain into persistence. He realized that true strength was built in these quiet, unseen moments. Jason reached out to mentors, learning from their experiences. Every conversation reminded him that failure wasn't shameful, was the raw material for growth. Each lesson became a brick, laying the foundation for his future success. Family noticed his transformation. The once timid, defeated young man now spoke with conviction. Even his failures had become stories of inspiration, teaching those around him that perseverance mattered more than immediate results. The 11th project took shape, slowly but surely. Jason embraced uncertainty, treating every hiccup as data. He laughed at mistakes, analyzed them, and adjusted. The fear that had once shackled him now fueled creative solutions. A small breakthrough came, a positive response from a client. Jason celebrated quietly, savoring the moment. 10 past failures had led to this tiny victory. Each no had been a step closer to a yes, a lesson in patience and persistence. Jason's confidence grew, not from success, but from resilience. He understood now, giving up was easy, but pushing forward despite fear and doubt, that was true courage. He felt unstoppable, ready to face the next challenge head-on. Jason stands at a crossroads. The past 10 failures have shaped him into someone unbreakable. The journey is far from over, but for the first time he feels the thrill of hope, ready for the battle that lies ahead. Jason stood before a new sunrise, feeling something he hadn't in years: peace. The small victories gave him strength, but he knew bigger storms were coming. Still, he whispered, "I'm not the same man who failed 10 times. The 11th project gained traction. Customers praised its simplicity and purpose. Jason worked endlessly, driven not by fear of failure, but by passion. He'd learned that success wasn't a finish line. It was a continuous climb. One morning, his inbox exploded. Orders, requests, and unexpected attention. Jason's hands shook with disbelief. The product was working. His dream, once buried under failure, was breathing, alive in the world. But with growth came chaos. Systems crashed, supply chains failed, deadlines piled up. Jason's team panicked. Old doubts resurfaced, whispering, "Maybe you can't handle this." But he refused to let fear win again. He gathered the team and said softly, "We've been through worse. Remember, it's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning faster than before." The room fell silent, but something in his voice sparked hope again. Long nights returned. Jason barely slept, troubleshooting and learning. He'd failed 10 times before, and each of those failures became a toolkit now. Every problem reminded him of how far he'd come, not how much he lacked. Weeks later, stability returned. The team celebrated with laughter and tired smiles. Jason watched them proudly. The scars of failure had turned into lessons that built a family, not just a company. News outlets began to notice. The man who failed 10 times became a headline. Jason laughed softly. It wasn't fame he wanted, but to prove that persistence could transform pain into purpose. An old investor who once rejected him called, "You've come far, Jason. I misjudged you." Jason replied calmly, "You didn't. I just hadn't learned enough back then." His tone carried grace, not bitterness. Opportunities poured in, yet Jason stayed grounded. He often revisited the notebook from his early days, tracing the faded sketches. Each page was a reminder that success grows best in the soil of failure. Despite progress, Jason faced another setback. A cyber-rat crippled their servers. Panic spread, but Jason breathed deeply. "This too shall pass," he told his team. The words echoed with faith, steady and sure. Working through the night, Jason found himself smiling. 10 failures had trained him for resilience. Every obstacle now felt like a familiar test, one he knew how to overcome with calm, courage, and clarity. By morning, the system was restored. The team cheered, some with tears in their eyes. Jason realized true leadership wasn't about always winning. It was about standing tall when everything tried to break you. Months passed, and Jason's startup grew globally. Yet he stayed humble, often mentoring young dreamers. "Don't chase perfection," he'd say. "Chase persistence. It will carry you when motivation fades." One evening, Jason stood before a crowd, invited to speak at a leadership summit. His voice trembled as he said, "I've failed 10 times before this. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's the path to it." The audience rose in applause, many with tears glistening. Jason smiled humbly. He'd once feared rejection. Now, his story healed others. The boy who once doubted himself had become a symbol of endurance. After the event, a young woman approached him. "I was about to give up," she whispered, eyes wet. Jason simply said, "Then fail forward. Every fall means you're moving." She smiled through tears, inspired anew. Years later, Jason's company thrived, but more importantly, his story lived on in others. Schools shared it. Podcasts told it. People who once feared failure found courage through his journey. Standing at his office window, Jason watched the sunset with gratitude. The man who had once felt worthless had discovered that strength isn't born in success. It's forged in the fire of never giving up. And so, from 10 failures came a legacy. Jason became the man who never surrendered, whose story whispered hope to countless souls. Fall 10 times if you must, but rise 11. The spirit of persistence lived on.